Hi guys, this is Muhammad Awais and my title for my presentation is Hate Crime Awareness and Intervention. Awareness of hate crimes. I want to make an intervention for hate crimes and for people to be aware of hate crimes. The study by Nolan et al. Identifies and quantifies the statistical accuracy of aggregate hate crime data and provides insight from frontline officers about thought processes involved with classifying bias offenses. The findings show that the true number of hate crimes in the population is likely much greater than official crime reports suggest, largely due to the undercounting of the crimes. When error rates were extrapolated, National Incident-Based Reporting System Group A hate crimes were undercounted by 67%. Officer responses validated complications involved with classifying hate crimes, particularly incidents motivated in part by bias. Classification errors in reporting hate crimes have an impact on the statistical accuracy of official hate crime statistics. Officers' offense descriptions provided greater awareness to issues with accurately interpreting and classifying hate crimes. The results yield useful information for officer training, understanding the true magnitude of these crimes, and a precursor for adjusting crime statistics to better estimate the true number of hate crimes in the population. Crimes involving bias have been of particular interest to criminologists over the 23 years since the passage of the Hate Crime Statistics Act. Hate crime intervention. Cognitive behavioral therapy, cognitive processing therapy, exposure therapy, and if required, psychopharmacology can be used in treating hate crime engendered PTSD, as well as major depression and anxiety disorders. The primary treatment focus for the survivor of a hate crime needs to be on the aftermath of the victimization. Beginning with the crisis intervention model when the hate crime is recent and following up with other therapeutic interventions as needed. Empowerment interventions may be the most effective strategies for intervening with self-doubt and homophobia. Empowerment strategies help individuals create and strengthen their identities and gain a sense of control over themselves and their own affairs. Advanced practice psychiatric nurses can be essential to the facilitation and expansion of the survivor's psychosocial skills. Modification of other personal resources and their assistance with interpersonal factors will increase their sense of empowerment. Why do hate crimes occur? Social scientists attempt to highlight and explain the motivation for hate crimes have been expanding over the past several years. In classifying types of hate crimes based on the offender's motivation, Levin and McDevitt define three distinct categories. The first, thrill seekers, the largest group most often consists of youths and most often represents individuals who commit such crimes because of boredom, to have fun, and to feel strong. The second category, reactionists, are interested in protecting their resources from intruders. Mission offenders, the last category, is composed of those who believe they are appealing to a higher authority by eradicating an inferior group. Hate crime awareness and intervention. Heightened public awareness and greater understanding of the epidemiology and nature of hate crime is necessary if perpetrators are to be recognized and effective interventions developed. To achieve this goal, databases of juvenile hate crimes must be developed nationwide and the success of preventive, educational, and alternative sentencing programs must be assessed. Mental health professionals play a critical role in the detection and treatment of juvenile perpetrators, and it is incumbent upon them to develop interventions for individuals and communities affected by hate crimes. Prevention of hate crimes. To prevent future hate crimes, law enforcement agencies, state and federal agencies, public interest groups, and schools have been working together to identify and track hate crimes and to mitigate the conditions that foster them. Several programs to combat and prevent hate crimes have been instituted, while others are still in the development stages. The criminal justice system has made efforts to better serve the needs of young people through enhancing the skills of those who work directly with young offenders. The Office of Juvenile Justice and Delinquency Prevention maintains a national training and technical assistance center whose goals are to upgrade and expand the professional skills of juvenile justice and delinquency prevention practitioners, increase the capacity to reduce youth crime, and improve the juvenile justice system. One research agenda is the causal link between political institutions and hate crime. A second agenda concerns the relationship between macroeconomic conditions and hate crime. Many theories of intergroup conflict argue that competition and resentment precipitate outgroup hostility and provide incentives for mass media and political leaders to channel this sentiment into xenophobic forms of collective action. Third, the role of social norms lends itself to well-identified and substantively significant research. It is often argued that what people do in everyday life is heavily shaped by their perceptions about what others think. In particular, people are sensitive to standards, real or imagined, of socially acceptable attitudes and behaviors. This theoretical perspective implies that interventions that clarify or dramatize social norms may have a profound effect on the manner in which outgroups are regarded and treated, especially when it comes to extra-legal behavior such as hate crime. Is bullying related to hate crimes? Bullying prevention can learn from its association with hate crimes. In addition to anti-bullying education and techniques, preventative programs both need to teach an appreciation and understanding of the unsuitability of unequal power conflicts for mediation and should include a focus on tolerance and diversity. Such factors may be more important than equal power conflict resolution skills if the aim is to reduce bullying and abusive behaviors. Conflict resolution skills remain critical for coping with equal power conflicts. Young children are also highly receptive to messages about tolerance and respect, and our most interesting observations during the first year of the MARC program was the intense interest adolescents displayed regarding issues of respect and diversity. Aggression related to hate crimes. Data from self-report surveys and needs assessment hotline call and social service records and police reports indicate that violence against transgender people starts early in life, that transgender people are at risk for multiple types and incidents of violence, and that this threat lasts throughout their lives. In addition, transgender people seem to have particularly high risk for sexual violence. One of the best documented types of violence against transgender people is sexual assault and rape. This is due in part because most studies on transgender people are linked to Department of Public Health and focus on sexual behavior such as condom use, unprotected sex, and anal sex in order to draw connections with HIV/AIDS status and transmission. Therefore, this means that there are more reports and greater levels of detail about sexual assault and rape than any of the other types of violence experienced by transgendered people. Hate crimes represent a distinct form of interpersonal and intergroup aggression and can involve vandalism, intimidation, harassment, physical and verbal assaults, and in some extreme cases, murder. Hate crime represents a unique form of aggression that includes the intent to harm, but also serves symbolic and instrumental functions for perpetrators. This type of conceptualization of hate crimes borrows loosely from Burke, who describes a useful distinction between hate crimes and other person and property offenses. Hate crimes are also regarded as distinct types of aggressive activity because they often inflict greater psychological distress upon their victims than similarly egregious non-biased aggression, for example mugging or robbery. Victims of hate crimes often experience long-term post-traumatic stress symptoms. In some cases, hate crime perpetrators may wish to symbolically differentiate themselves from their victim and may do so by denigrating the victim's group, example the L group. Social identity theory provides a useful way of understanding how perpetrators' actions can foster enhanced self-esteem for the perpetrators. According to the theory, individuals are motivated to maintain a positive self-image. Their image of themselves is intertwined with their image of their own group, for example, the in-group, and to the extent that when an individual feels good about their in-group, they will feel good about themselves. Prejudice related to hate crime: a possible philosophically informed approach to dilemmas posed by this topic is offered by Husserl's phenomenology. Phenomenology is critical in that its opening methodologically strive, as far as humanly possible, to suspend and neutralize whatever is ideologically taken for granted about hate crime, and whatever constitutes an appropriate policy response to it. Rather than dismiss phenomenology as a position involving self-negating prejudice against prejudice, it is more fruitful to develop its critical, ethical, and policy dimensions that challenge the specific types of prejudicial understandings constitutive of much hate crimes, albeit in ways that strive to resolve the contradictions just alluded to. The hate threshold takes three major elements: emotions, causations, and difference as a framework for analyzing how the legal rules are operationalized. Analysis of Australian sentencing aggravation law reveals that courts have set a relatively rigorous standards for offender sentiment and causation. However, the development of a more fluid threshold among the elements of difference raises questions about the constitutive implications when law misfires. A small but important body of research examined hate crime laws in practice. It suggests that statutory rules and procedures can be given quite different meanings in the hands of poorly led police officers, overzealous prosecutors, or resistant judges. The court, especially appellate courts, have an influential role to play in limiting, validating, or elaborating hate crime statutes. Judicial pronouncements serve as authoritative texts on the scope and meaning of these laws that circulate to other judges, prosecutors, defense lawyers, and scholars, representing an important moment in the legal construction of hate crimes. In her analysis of both European and US laws governing racist crimes, Goodall argues that much case law has developed to embrace victims' motives and forms of group hostility that are a far cry from the original impetus driving these laws, which was to redress the denial of human rights and dignity to racial and other minorities. For victims it is often difficult to isolate the online threats from intimidation, violence, and abuse that they suffer offline. Moreover, victims often live in fear because of the possibility of online threats materializing in the real world. The researchers conclude that there is a continuity of anti-Muslim hostility in both the virtual and the physical world, especially in a globalized world. Following the recent terrorist attack in Paris and Tunisia in 2015, and in Woolwich, southeast London, where British Army soldier drummer Lee Rigby was murdered in 2013, there has seen a significant increase in anti-Muslim attacks. These incidents have occurred offline, where mosques have been vandalized, Muslim women have had their hijab, headscarf, or niqab pulled off, Muslim men have been attacked, and racist graffiti has been scrawled against Muslim properties. Concurrently, there has been a spike in anti-Muslim hostility online, where Muslims have been targeted by campaigns of cyberbullying, cyber harassment, cyber incitement, and threats of offline violence. A key finding that emerges from our case studies is that the visibility of victims' Muslim identity is key to triggering anti-Muslim attacks, both online and offline. For example, in terms of social networking sites, individuals may be perceived as Muslim because of their name, appearance in their profile pictures, dress for women and beard for men, and comments indicating their affiliation with Islam. The anonymity aspect in cases of online abuse is extremely frightening, as the perpetrator could be anyone. Equally worryingly, the online threats can escalate into the physical space, thus the affinity between online and offline anti-Muslim hostility limits pivotal aspects of identity building, such as using social media as well as visiting friends, going to university, and attending the mosque. This demonstrates the fear and reality of online and offline anti-Muslim hostility restricts Muslim participation in society. Thank you so much. That's all. Have a nice day.